I am gaming. I am gaming. I am gaming podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Ivica. Thank you so much for being on the latest episode of I'm Gaming Podcast. This is a podcast about the video game industry, entrepreneurship, gaming nostalgia, and many more things I find to be in the same realm of creative and business ventures. This episode, like every episode so far, is sponsored by Patreon and you amazing people who support me through this platform. And right off the bat, a huge thanks to all of you. I really appreciate your donations and keeping this podcast running. If you too, meaning not my patrons, would like to support me, please check out the link in the description below and check out all of my patrons links. They're amazing and really cool and offer you a chance to enjoy excellent YouTube channels, Twitch streams, games, releases, and so much more. So check out that description, check out all of the links, and I would love to have you around as my patron supporter, and I would love to help you and your venture get a bit of publicity. Not much, to be honest, not much, I'm not big, but some for sure. This is episode 88 and this is going to be a purebred gaming episode because I'm going to talk in this episode about a strategy I recently played. It's a building simulation strategy called Frostpunk, and it's a pretty weird game, I have to say, and being that I'm a game designer and teach game design in the beautiful Novi Sad, Serbia, Academy of Arts, I would like to take this opportunity and do episode 88 about Frostpunk and things I find to be really weird in the game and things that kind of placed me a bit off from kind of a general opinion that the game is excellent and that it was probably the best strategy or among the top strategies and building simulations, management simulations of the year when it came out. So first of all, for you, anyone who doesn't know what the game is all about, it's basically a survival simulation where you lead a group of late 19th century people who get stuck in a new cold age or ice age. They build a community around a single steam engine or coal power engine that provides them with heat in a basin of some kind on the North Pole, if I'm not mistaken, where they try to keep the civilization alive and well, while the rest of the planet is in a cold age, in a ice age where everything is freezing and everyone is basically dying of cold and starvation. So it's a game from the same people who brought you this War of Mine, which was another management simulation that's pretty downbeat and pretty morbid in the sense that you play kind of a survivor in a ongoing war or a siege. In this case, that whole morbid and difficult and dark approach is still there, and the game is all about kind of making the best out of horrible situations. And why didn't I like it? Well, I can't say I didn't hate it or anything like that. I enjoyed playing it. However, my process of playing is pretty interesting. I started playing, I think, on normal and did several settlements, all of which failed for kind of unknown reasons to me. Most of those had to do with kind of getting out of coal or running out of coal and freezing and being given the boot by the population. So I had to try again. Then I decided to play on easy and kind of just go through this whole storyline of the Londoners. I'm thinking that's the scenario, the basic, most primary scenario that's provided by the game, where I kind of took things a little bit easier. Management and building your city became not that difficult, and I finished recently where I kind of saved the city from the storm, and that was the end of the scenario. Things I find to be pretty weird are not kind of the elements that are offbeat in terms of like building a circular city. That's really cool. The key mechanics of finding resources, collecting resources and managing them are also pretty good and interesting. However, those laws or book of order or book of fate, the daily or weekly whatnot laws that you can kind of institute is a thing that kind of threw me off because a lot of choices were only benefits. And that was the kind of situation where you find it difficult to choose those other options that have some downsides, no matter what your present situation in the city is like. If you have kind of an ability to choose from option A, which has some drawbacks and advantages, and you have option B that has only advantages, if you're not completely devastated in that particular moment and in a total breakdown, you'll choose the option B, because in the long run it's going to provide you only with benefits and no downsides. So those were pretty weird to me. Also, the choose between Order and Fate was kind of no-brainer for me as well, because I had the problem of Londoners and had to choose Order, more or less, or at least that's how I saw it. And this kind of uneven, unsure ecosystem of decisions and their consequences is something that kind of really stuck with me through the game, and that's one of the reasons why I don't see playing it ever again. Because at the end, and I think that is a downside of the economy of the game, I'm guessing, both in terms of political decisions and in terms of material and economic decisions that revolve around the use of resources. There are some situations that should provide you with a breakdown, but they don't. I know that one of the games I played, I saw that my city was kind of going to hell and I just wanted to lose. So I stopped doing anything, just placed the time scale on 3 on maximum, and just wanted for the game to end. It kept going for days and days and days without the city breaking down. Then I reloaded from that point and tried to play the same part with me actively trying to make things better, and I lost almost immediately. So either I'm really bad at this game, which isn't impossible, I could be really terrible at Frostpunk, or there is some kind of a randomness to the game that can allow you to kind of survive with bad decisions and lose with good decisions, at least in theory, in the same circumstance. That's a big issue for me, because it places that element of real world in the games, in theory. That's the moment when you kind of have to be lucky. But inside of game design, the use of chance that isn't understood by players is always problematic. It's like having a gambler's game where people don't know that a part of their process of playing also includes a set of chances that they can even heuristically calculate or they're completely unaware of. This is an issue in Frostpunk. I believe it's there. It's not in kind of the forefront, it's further back, but some kind of a process of that nature is taking place, and it's a big problem for me. Even when I won, I was certain at the end of my last game, when the storm hit, I was certain that I was losing, because a lot of people were cold, a lot of people were dying, there was a lot of frostbites and a lot of misery. But the city kept on going, even though in some other circumstance earlier in the game that would probably mean me getting the boot and getting fired and dead as a character in the game. This didn't happen here, and one day simply the spring arrived, or the sun, a small sun icon arrived, and that was it. I managed to win the game. And that randomness and that unknowable parts of the game, maybe I'm not fully aware of the mechanics, but then I pretty much invested a lot of time in the game. If I didn't pick it up, a lot of people didn't as well. That is a showcase, at least in my view, of inadequate game design in terms of, like I said, of the economy, of the politics and resources. Yes, the real world has a lot of randomness, has a lot of chances in practically everything, but games shouldn't, and that should be kind of also a takeaway for me for the whole story of the weirdness of Frostpunk. For any game designers or game creators, developers, always consider things that have chance in your game, and always find a way to present those have chances to the players. They need to be aware of it. Unless it's kind of a thing you want to keep hidden from the players, some kind of a small tweak or something like that, it should be something that is on the mental radar of every player. They can ignore it or they can use it, but they should be aware of it. Otherwise, the game will be some kind of a black box that sometimes gives results A, sometimes results B, sometimes C, and this will frustrate players. Now, I'm clear that a lot of people didn't have an issue with this. So might be something with my playstyle, but even if it is, there is still an underlying element to this, and it's an underlying element that you should avoid in your games for sure. So if there are chances, if there are things that can go good or bad, depending on chance for the players should be aware of it. Because even when they get benefits, like in my case, my city kept on going even though I wanted it to die, the end result was confusion for me. Why is this happening? Or why isn't some bad thing happening even though it should? And that confusion leads to frustration. So avoid those in your games. And of course, I would love to hear if you think the same thing about Frostpunk, or you had some different experience or a completely different experience, or you think I'm wrong. Everything would be perfect to be said of those things in the comment section below. So take this chance and leave a comment or two. Again, I'd love to hear it. This is all for episode 88. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It was an episode about gaming and game development, so that was something I didn't do for quite some time. Of course, I would love to hear any comment you might have about the podcast, me or Frostpunk. Use that opportunity. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like. If you didn't before, subscribe and check out my Patreon page. Also, I shill a book. There is a link to my book in the description below. Check out that as well. And I'll see you on episode 89. Until then, my name is Ivica. Thank you so much for listening and have a great week. Bye bye.